Hello, what is up? Welcome back to the Sessions Cancel Podcast, episode 5. I almost lost count, and we're not even that far in.
Nice.
Showing our professionalism here.
Hell yeah, killing it, bro. Tis I, your host, Josh. I am here with this other guy, Isaiah.
Sup?
And Sam.
Hey, how you doing?
And Matt, please say something normal.
Hello.
Oh, thank God.
That's progress, Matt. We call that progress. We call that learning.
Is it really progress? You told him exactly what to do like a child.
Right.
I did. Welcome. Our brainer was murdered by our gun lugger in a dispute over who owned what ammo. So session got canceled.
Bro, I didn't even get that reference.
I know you don't get that reference. I'm referencing Apocalypse World.
Oh, okay.
The brainer and the gun lugger are two playbooks in Apocalypse World. Apocalypse World is my favorite tabletop game, so it will come up a lot.
I'm sure it will.
Anyway, it'll probably come up actually this episode because I do like the XP system quite a lot. Which is a segue. We're talking about experience. Talking about experience points, experience rewards. Rewards in general, I guess, really, because experience is not necessarily the only kind of reward in tabletop games, but experience is the most well-known and most used one. But, you know, I feel like I felt like, you know, the last 4 episodes were too calm. We all agreed too much. We really need to get some spice in this soup, you know what I'm saying? So I needed to bring up XP because I have some differing takes. I'm not going to say hot takes. I don't think I have hot takes, but I know I have some differing takes from quite a lot of people. I don't know if I'm going to call them hot takes necessarily.
Some volcano level of heat take.
Okay. My one take is maybe a hot take, which is the situation with Milestone XP, which I'm not going to pop off yet. We're not going to pop off yet.
We're keeping that loaded gun under the table.
Yeah, we're going to keep that exactly. We're keeping that loaded gun on the table. That's exactly what we're doing.
All right.
Gonna keep my files over here in the case, just in case. Backup. You did the
you're not ready, Josh. He took notes. He prepared his thesis statement. Get ready for get ready.
Matt, are we gonna fucking battle? Is this a Pokemon battle?
Could, finally.
I'm starting with
We missed our chance at the Ren Fair, so we gotta do it verbally.
Fair enough.
Well, look, we can still battle at Mount Fuji. We could push Matt into the volcano.
The loser goes into the volcano.
No. We're all going in. This has been decided.
We're going in regardless of the scenario.
Okay.
I don't know how to start this because I have so many things. I have so many different roads I can go down with this topic of like reward systems, tabletop games. So I guess I'll start simple. What's everyone's favorite style of experience and or rewards in a tabletop game? Anyone have any particular favorite examples or ideas that they've heard that they really like? Let's just start there. Open floor, open table.
Well, I mean, not to give you the so early in the podcast, the system that you came up with, I'm actually a pretty big fan of. I'm using that in my game.
Thank you.
That being said, I feel like I might have to do some jerry rigging to it at some point in the future.
Well, I also want to make some adjustments because I came up with that pretty fast.
I'm gonna have to fuck with it in like a different way because basically, like I've told you guys before, the biggest problem that assails my game is scheduling and attendance because one of my players she works at a hospital at the intensive care ward, I think. Don't hate me, Siffy, I promise. I'm not doing this on purpose. But yeah, she works at the hospital and is constantly doing like 12, 13-hour shifts and having code blues and shit like 2 minutes before session starts.
Jesus.
So I've implemented a small system from another game that I'm playing in with character interaction chats that I have in the Discord server that characters can like type in as themselves and have roleplay moments if they can't make it to session or if they just want to have like a moment in like a short rest or a long rest or during travel, whenever the fuck. And I want to figure out if there's a way that I can give them some XP, like not obviously not as much for attending session because like you're not there, sorry bud, but like just something to give them a buffer against the fact that they're not going to be getting the XP that other players are. And I was wondering, I'm a few friends of mine run like roleplay servers, like just servers of that, and they have some systems that I've like given it some thought into being like, can I copy your homework if I change it a little bit.
Sure, just to change it a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Just make it look like you did it. Yeah.
Just steal from everything, man. It's like the best tool a DM can do.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out.
I do.
That being said, small rant about that. I'm sorry. I brought it up to my players, being like, if you want to do it, it's here for you. It's a resource. And then like 2 players in particular, like, hell yeah, let's do it. And just nothing.
Yeah.
They haven't used it at all. And I was like, all right, bet.
I mean, it is hard to, like, a lot of players in particular, especially if they haven't GM'd, do not put any thought into the game outside of the game. Like, if they are away from the table, then 0 brain cells being used. So the idea of like, oh, we'll do like RP between sessions, or a lot of people don't do that. You as the GM often have to actively push that kind of stuff for it to like happen. That being said, just to give the context, because like, not to suck myself off, but because Isaiah mentioned the XP system I came up with. So it's I adjusted the way XP works for D&D. I don't know, Matt, have I told you about how I do it in my game?
No, actually.
Okay.
I'm actually interested in hearing this.
Yeah. So, because here's the thing. Now, a lot of people are like, well, fighting XP in D&D is trash. And everyone says Milestone Is De Wae. I don't like Milestone.
Did you just quote Uganda Knuckles?
No, I didn't. No. He doesn't own that phrase.
You definitely just said the way, like Uganda Knuckles. You didn't just bring up a 4-year-old meme.
I'm sorry, I couldn't. It's like a reflex. It's like a reflex. Anyway,
more XP for the queen.
Goodness.
Oh fucking hell! So, point being, I don't like Milestone XP. And I don't think Combat XP is the devil. Like, I don't think Combat XP is like the worst thing on the planet. So what I did was I essentially just expanded the things you get XP for, and only a little bit. Like, I really didn't change it that much. Because so in my current game, you still get XP for combat as normal. I use all the base rules for combat XP. On top of that, I also have role-playing XP. And so a lot of people probably don't remember or even think about this section of their character sheet when playing 5e, but there's a little thing called your character traits, which is bonds, flaws, ideal, and something else. I forget. There's 4.
Personality trait. That's like the first one.
Yeah, that's it. So those
bonds, ideals, personality traits, flaws.
Yeah, those. So those 4 things. The game has 0 mechanics by default that have anything to do with it. The only mention of mechanics with those is I think they maybe vaguely mention those tying into like inspiration giving, but like barely. So I was like, well, let's use part of what's already there as far as the game does. So I stole, if anyone who's played Blades in the Dark will be kind of familiar with how this works, I essentially stole the way Blades does it. So with the role-playing XP, basically, if you role-play, act out, involve one of your character traits in any way, more or less, during the session, I mean, it has to be at least somewhat relevant, like it has to be a little bit meaningful. Like, you can't just make like a flaw and be like, my character is loud, and then just shout all the time and just like get free XP. Like, it's not, it has to be like, you know, it has to somewhat matter to what's going on, at least a little bit. If you act it out in any way, you get 100 times your level at the end of the session. So if you're level 5, you get 500 XP. Now, if you do it multiple times, if you multi-proc any of them, so like, let's say you have a flaw that's like, I'm always getting in fights, and then like twice in the session, you got into some fight with someone that you shouldn't have, then it would be a multi-proc and you get 200 times your level. So if you're level 5, you get 1000 XP. And the way it is decided on if you get the proc or not is at the end of the session, all the players vote. So I, as the GM, don't have any say. I've wiped myself clean of the roleplay experience, because I control the other XP, so I let the players have the roleplay XP. So at the end of the session, the player's like, I think I proc my flaw. And then all the other players basically vote yay or nay and agree. If everyone agrees, you get your XP. Blades in the Dark essentially does the same thing with his XP model, where you trigger various questions at the end of a session. You get a point of XP if you hit them or not. Although Blades in the Dark doesn't have a group vote, Blades in the Dark just has you as the player be like, I think I procced this, and you basically just give yourself XP, which is a little weird to some people.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, well, you could, so that's the thing, right, is technically, as is, the player just gives it to themselves, but, like, I think the way most Blades groups do it is the player's like, I think I deserve this. Does everyone feel like I deserve this? And everyone's like, yeah, sure. That's generally how it goes. Because, you know, it may seem like a bad idea to, like, let players give themselves XP in that fashion, but, like, a lot of the time, when you give players that option, they're very honest about it. Like, I have never once in my current D&D campaign where I'm rewarding this roleplay XP and having the players vote, never once has there been a session where somebody has been like, I definitely double proc this, and everyone else is like, you're stretching. He's like, no, I definitely got it. And everyone's like, nah, you're stretching, bro. Like, there's never been an argument about it. Everyone's either like, you got it or you didn't. Everyone's very honest about it. I think that's generally how that goes. And then the third like avenue of XP I use for D&D is what I call quest XP. And it's essentially just you complete like a quest, a milestone, adventure, chapter, if you will, and I reward, as the GM, I reward a huge chunk of XP for that. And I base it off of the encounter difficulties. So if I have, if I have like let's say I have like 4 level 4 players, and the quest I gave them was, you know, a hard level quest, then at the end of the session, I will reward them each, I don't break it up, each 1500 XP. So each player would get that 1500. And the reason I do it, the reason I don't divvy it, and the reason I give them each that value is because the quest XP comes up way less often than the other two do. So because it comes up less often, I make it bigger chunks when it comes up. So like last session, I think my players got something like 5,000 XP or some shit by the end of a quest line because it was long and deadly. I gave them like a huge chunk of XP for it. So that's how I do that. Or it might have been like 7,000 XP. I don't remember. It was a lot, and all 4 players leveled after it. So yeah, that's how I do my current XP. And like I said, I stole it basically from other games. I stole the idea of like the roleplay XP that I took from Blades, more or less, Blades in the Dark. And the sort of like quest XP thing I kind of took from Dungeon World, because at the end of every session, Dungeon World, there's a couple of questions relative to the group that reward XP, and so I kind of took that concept. But also the idea of just going on quests is very JRPG in general. So like you could argue I just took that idea from MMOs and JRPGs, because it's you complete the quest, get a bunch of XP. You know, it's very World of Warcraft in that fashion.
So how did you get the numbers for that? For like, you said it's for someone acts something of their personality trait, flaw, or whatever they get.
Yeah, I just do 100 times their level.
Okay, why 100? What came?
Because it's a good, like, it's a small enough number that it's not gonna like cause them to level at hyper speed, but enough of a number to matter. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. Originally, I was actually doing, if you proc once, you get 50 times your level, and then you get 100 times your level for a double proc, but I wanted it to be a little bit more XP, so I made it 100 and 200. But basically, It's just a case of, like, it's a little nugget of XP every session, because there hasn't been, I don't think there's been a single session where nobody got their roleplay XP, right? Like, I mean, Isaiah and Sam, I don't know if you remember at any point, but I'm pretty sure everyone's always gotten at least one person has always gotten it.
Yeah. I don't think there's ever been a session where no one got it.
Right.
For the record, I'm still doing the 50 per session just because I want to see how that scales, if it really matters that much. And we'll have 2 frames of reference now. I know there was like 2 sessions where we did 75%, or 70, yeah, it was 175 times. And at one point Josh was like, no, this is not the math that I feel like doing today.
Yeah, I think I considered 75, and then I very quickly was like, I don't like how this maths out on, like, I didn't like the way it added up on the character sheet itself. I was like, this is gonna annoy me.
Same. I would have done the same thing. I'd be like, no, I don't think I will.
Yeah, so it's just like a good round number that's like small enough that it's not like ridiculous amounts of XP, but big enough that it's not nothing.
Right.
And I mean, you could adjust that. Like, if you wanted your game, let's say you really, 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 like, you wanted to lean really hard on the roleplay for your game, you could do like 500 times level and 1,000 times level. You know, like if you like wanted to, like, it's an easily adjustable scale. Oh, the other reason it came to my mind is because there's another game, Stars Without Number, where that does goal-oriented XP. Dungeon World also kind of does this because Dungeon World has the bond system where when you complete a bond, you get an XP for it. In Stars Without Number, you say, this is my goal, you complete the goal, you get the XP. So it was kind of a similar idea to that, where I was like, oh, well, your goal is just permanent in that it's a character trait, and you hit the trait, you get it. Dungeon World also gives you XP for playing out your alignment, because every alignment on the playbooks will say a specific sentence. So, like, I think it's the Ranger in Dungeon World says, the alignment, it says chaotic, and then it's like, if I defy civilization for the sake of nature, that's your like alignment. So if you do that during the session, you get a point of XP. So it's also kind of that idea.
I just want to interrupt and just be like, I love the Z-Bashu. Just jerry-rig 5e until it works. Just take ideas from other game systems, just cram it in there. It's fine. It'll work. It's 5e. Anything. You can throw anything in there. It'll be fine.
Well, here's the thing, though. I'm not really jury-rigging it, though. I'm just adjusting a lot of stuff that's already exists. You know? I didn't really add any systems. I just sort of adjusted systems that are already there. You could argue I kind of added the quest thing, but, like, not really. You know? Like, I didn't do anything drastic.
Right.
And besides, you should use other information. You should jury-rig all games, because there's things you're going to be like, oh, I like this from this game and this from this game. So you should do a little bit of smushing of everything.
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%.
Within reason. Don't try to hack 5e into like Sherlock Holmes. That's not.
No, do it. Do it.
I mean, you could certainly attempt, I guess. I mean, who am I to stop you? But like,
yeah. I'm also just looking up like experience points, like for leveling, because like at low levels, it seems like it'll be great for like, 100 times your level.
Oh, it definitely has a little bit of a scaling thing,
but yeah.
Which is
like
why
later on.
Which is why the quest XP is the bigger chunks, right? Because that scales because again, 5e already has the system where encounters have XP values attached to them. So I just took those. So I didn't need to do any work to make it scale correctly. It just does for me. Like, I don't need to worry about it.
Right. I know. Yeah, I know earlier too you were mentioning like rewards. Like favorite rewards like people give out besides like XP or whatever.
Well, I mean, just any kind of reward system you like in general.
Yeah. I mean, I like, again, like most of my players, again, because players, they like, power and all that jazz. Like magic items, like obviously personalized stuff is pretty nice. Like trying to figure out different systems and working what the players want or what their goal. Like if you have a session 0 and you have a player who's specifically like, man, I really one day would like to get a Vorpal sword. And you're like, all right, how the fuck? You're level 1. How do I work this in now? And just like, you can do something where it's like, you give them like the magic items that level up with you or something. Try and make something like that work. And eventually it's like, yeah, Jeremy, once you hit level like 20, that thing, the dagger you have, it's gonna be a Vorpal dagger. Woo, hell yeah.
I've actually played in games with like the personalized evolving item system.
You're playing in one right now. What are you talking about?
Am I?
Yes.
Are you?
Oh.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. Okay, then.
That's always been the thing. Brett's weapon is literally one of those weapons.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's fair enough. But that's not like that weapon wasn't for Brett, right? It wasn't like...
No, it wasn't made for Brett. Brett's character.
Yeah, I've played in those. Actually, I am playing that game right now. I'm playing in a Wild Mount game right now, and my character has a set of earrings that evolve as the character levels up. Yeah, it's like an interesting. It's interesting, and where's my brain going with this? I'm so tired.
I don't want to. Have you guys read or saw the new Cobalt Press book, The Vault of Magic, which is like the big book of 1,000 magic items now?
No.
So, like Critical Role, the Tal'Dorei campaign book and the Wild Mount book, where they have the Vestiges of Divergence, which are basically magic items that increase in power as you level up or do some kind of important story stuff. In the Cobalt Press book, they call it fabled magic items, and they literally are magic items that evolve when you hit certain levels.
Yeah,
so it's like,
I mean, that's very King Arthur Excalibur type thing. So
right,
yeah.
And they're all very cool. Most of them, I think, are armors too. So, but that's rather than just the Vorpal dagger that will eventually become a vocal sword or whatever. They're like little armors that's like, oh, it helps you stealth. And eventually it's like you could turn invisible. And another one, you are basically a shadow monk and an assassin without leveling into a shadow monk or assassin.
Actually,
yeah, I tend to like the items more so.
Do you have an XP system you've seen that you like though?
XP? I mean, again, man, I'm more the milestone guy, but I will hold off my comments.
Spicy meatball.
Yeah.
Actually, there is something that I wanted to bring up, just because it made me think about it in that moment, and now my brain I'm losing it as I'm trying to come up with the thoughts.
Go, dude, I believe.
What was I talking about? Damn it.
I love Push Brain. My favorite.
I'm trying. My think pan's not that deep right now, bro.
Let the knowledge flow into your
Matt, what were you just talking about? Damn it.
Magic items evolving. Vestiges of divergence.
Leveling up magic items.
Oh, okay. Yes. I know now. I remember this now. Hey, I was watching a Mr. Rex video, if anybody knows who that is. He's a lore YouTuber for Forgotten Realms.
Very good.
He was talking about how in one of the games he was running, he had this system that is very reminiscent of old D&D, where like your currency was your XP. It basically, the mission was to be like, how powerful can I make my players? How do I sort of make it a more gamified system? And like one of the, I think it was like when you get to a certain amount, you level up. When you get to another amount, you get magic items, I think. I'm probably getting this wrong. I'm paraphrasing massively. But one of the things you could get when you hit, oh my goodness, when you hit a milestone of money, you can buy a feature from another subclass in the same class.
Ooh.
And I thought that was interesting.
Well, that is interesting. Fictionally, that's weird as hell. Like,
yeah,
I am rich now. I have picked up paladin levels. And you're like, what? Huh?
So I think the caveat was it had to be, it could only be a subclass in a class that you're spec'd into. But yeah, no, I mean, there really is no narrative explanation for it other than you're just fucking...
You're balling out of control, so now you've got Divine Smite. Bada bingus.
Yeah, you're balling so hard that now you have a clone.
Right? Like what?
Damn.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was neat.
Tying money, I'm trying to think if I've played in any game where money was the XP.
I know one of my players, one of my buddies, he's playing in a second edition game.
Second edition.
Bless his heart.
And he loves it. He loves it. He loves it. And he's like, yeah, XP for money. He's like, it's great. And I'm like, how? How does that?
You can't. Well, here's the thing you gotta understand, Matt. The money, you know how money's like basically fucking worthless in 5e? Yeah, money wasn't like that in the older editions. There was a lot of shit, like the books used to have like tables and shit of like how much it would cost to buy a stronghold and how many people you would need to pay to man it and all that.
Well, there was like
lots
that in
of stuff. Yeah, but not really. Like, it's really vague. There's not that much to it. There's no like, it was way more in depth in older editions because money was way more of a thing. Also, money values in general were smaller. Like, copper carried more weight. It wasn't only gold matters, basically. All
I know
levels of currency mattered more.
Yeah, one thing he did mention was because the whole like gold equals XP because the monsters have the gold. So basically, it's like the same thing as killing a monster. So either way, you're getting XP.
Yes, but also monsters did give a little bit of XP, but it was very little.
But it was
the idea was you were more encouraged, not necessarily to defeat the monsters, but to just either get around them or like solve the puzzle to get the loot. The idea was the goal was not just to kill the monsters. And I feel like a lot of people, I know I do this, where, you know, I feel like a lot of people play 5e in a fashion that they kind of do that anyway, where even if the players didn't necessarily kill the enemy, but they defeated them in some fashion, they give the XP anyway. So like, for example, if you have a fight, I do this for my players a bunch. You have a fight and it's like, well, you've defeated 3 of the 6 goblins. The other 3 goblins give up. I give them XP for all 6 goblins. Like they beat all 6 because you still overcame the situation in some fashion.
What if a monster like ran away? Let's say you're fighting a dragon.
I will still reward XP for that. I mean, well, it depends. I guess I should specify. If the monster ran away because he was getting his ass beat, I will reward XP. If the monster ran away because he was like, I have somewhere else to be right now, then no, I won't necessarily reward for that. So it's kind of like a context-based situation.
Okay, yeah.
You know, there was actually I distinctly remember there was a fight where they got attacked by a bunch of rust monsters, and Isaiah lit a bunch of them on fire, and the rust monsters like fucked off because they were lit on fire, and I gave him XP for all of them, even though they weren't dead. They just ran away because they were on fire because they're bugs and they no likey. That kind of thing. That's kind of what the idea with 2E giving money for gold was. Is, well, you don't have to fight. You don't necessarily have to kill the monster. You just have to overcome it in some fashion. But then again, also 2E had a lot more of an emphasis on like fictional descriptor mattering way more, and like you had to be really precise with how you described and did things and shit. So there was a lot of like cultural play differences that shifted that around. Sam, you've been quiet. I know you've played in a lot of different games like I have. Is there any XP system in any game that really stands out to you?
No, not really. Unfortunately, I really don't like how XP systems are done. I don't know. I've never found one that really clicked with me, because I feel like in regards to roleplay experience, it really benefits the people who tend to really roleplay into their characters. But if a player is either new or roleplaying just like doesn't really mesh with them every single session, they end up falling behind. And I've been in both situations where I've really liked roleplaying as a character, and I've gotten enough times to shine where I get experience. But I've also played as a character that I liked role-playing, but because they weren't the focus most of the time, I ended up falling behind in experience and then levels because of it. Milestone is an experience system. I think it has its uses, especially at higher levels, because once you get to a certain point, I'd rather just not have to balance experience, because your players are going to either level up too fast or too slow for their taste. I think battle XP is fine, but a lot of the time, especially like with campaigns that you mean to either be slightly shorter, or like for instance, let's say we're playing a pre-written adventure, and we're using only battle experience. For you to get to the level that is required for each area, it would require way more time than really is necessary if you just use Milestone.
Yeah, I mean, battle XP definitely benefits longer campaign, or
yes.
It falls apart pretty quick on shorter campaigns, unless you intend to be shorter and also lower level.
Yes.
Like if you're doing both, then it doesn't.
Yeah, I think the XP system, honestly, it really does, like most things with 5e, it works at lower levels very well. And then once you start getting to that 7th to 10th level, that's, stuff starts to fall off the wagon.
Yeah, I mean, another thing I've never seen anyone mention with 5e and its XP system is, hey, why are the numbers so fucking big? I think that's part of the problem. Pretty much every other RPG I've ever played, other than 5e, tracks XP in increments of 1. Just 1. So in Dungeon World, for example, to get to the next level, it is your current character level plus 7. Every time the game tells you to mark XP, the terminology they use is mark XP, you add 1 point of XP. In Blades in the Dark, every time you act out one of your character's like XP triggers, you get 1 XP. In Apocalypse World, you get 1 point of advancement. In Vampire the Masquerade, you get 1 point of XP. Like, they're all done in smaller numbers, whereas 5e is like, you need 40,000 XP to hit level 15, like in MMO. And it's fine in MMOs because the computer's doing all the math for you. But like, why does a goblin have to be worth 25 XP? Why can't a goblin be worth 1 XP? You know what I'm saying?
Actually, it's 165,000 to get
even better. Even better. But like every other RPG I've ever played, they always do 1 XP increments, or they don't even use a number. They just use like a number of like dots or whatever. So like in Apocalypse World, they don't even use a number value. It's just you fill out 5 dots. Now, obviously that's just 5 points, but like they don't even reference a number. They just call it a point of advancement. You just get 5 advancements. Like that's it. And then I'm trying to think what Star Wars also was 1 XP increment. No, Star Wars was a 1, but Star Wars was like 5 and 10 XP. It didn't get really high. It was in like the 5 and 10 range. Generally. It's like, I feel like that's maybe part of the problem Maybe I'm wrong. Like because
So the
depends,
big
I
thing
guess,
about it
but-
is just because the way that D&D rewards experience is based in rules is written based solely on either milestone or killing monsters. So
hold on. Question.
answer.
Is milestone even a thing, rules as written,
Yes,
in the main 3 books?
Yeah, I don't know if they
Yes.
call it a variant rule, but it is a.
it is in
Do they
the books.
actually call it out?
Yes.
I believe it is a variant rule, yeah.
But I
Yes.
don't think they say milestone XP is give your players a level for hitting a certain point. I think that they say is give your players a bunch of XP for hitting a certain point, which is essentially quest XP. I'm pretty sure that's how they word it.
Well, with most books, like
Right?
I'm reading through Mad Mage because I'm eventually going to run that, and it literally says at the beginning of the chapter, it's like, or at the beginning or the end of each chapter, it always says, by this section of the dungeon, your character should be at this level,
Right.
or
But
your
that's an
character should have
adventure.
enough XP to level up. Yeah,
That's an adventure.
Mhm.
The DMG and the player's handbook don't even word it that way. So like milestone isn't even like, or should I say, the way everyone does milestone is not
right.
even
It's not the
technically
official.
rules is written.
No, most people when they do milestone XP, it's more story-driven achievements, basically. or
Right, which is
story-driven
not-
moments.
Technically the thing. It's just weird. It's just like a weird, like, I don't know where the milestone XP, like, oh, you hit a certain point, here's a free level up. Like, I don't know where that even really came from and why everyone started agreeing on it. Like, I feel like it kind of came out of, I guess it probably came from the adventures. But like,
Probably.
I don't know. It's weird. But everyone has just agreed that it's a thing now, even though it wasn't ever officially called out to my knowledge, unless it was called out in some, like, I don't know, some book or some article or something. I meant, like, that's possible.
I mean, I'm checking the DM. Oh no, it's in the DMG milestones.
Yeah, it's in the DMG. It said so, but here's the thing: read the paragraph, Isaiah, because I'm pretty sure what it says is not get a free level up. It says get a big chunk of XP for hitting certain points. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? What the distinction here is?
Yeah.
Because the way most people do it is, oh, you hit a milestone, ergo you level up. Whereas with the DMG is saying, oh, you hit a milestone, here's 5,000 XP, not here's a level up. So even then, we're not even doing it that way that the DMG mentioned.
Right.
It's like, where the hell did this
Actually-
come from?
There is actually some cool shit in here, and like these, like it gives a few examples. I'm reading the DMG right now,
Uh-huh.
and one of the cool things that it says you can substitute for like some minor milestone stuff. Obviously, magic items can regain their expended uses, or like a minor one. So like if you have like a a circular blast thing, it can like recharge if you do something really cool. I actually really like that. I like that idea.
Here's the thing, though. I feel like people do that narratively. Right? Just like,
True. Yes, but
you know,
so
like, oh, you found the magic. I literally did that in our game
you did
not that long ago.
You did, yeah. So, but
Oh,
this
you
is-
got the magic item. Here's the thing.
So this is something that I'm very much in something that I always push is, even if it's assumed, there's a downside to codifying it. You know what I mean?
True.
Because there's those situations
True.
where first-time GMs might
You're
not know to do that, right? They might not have that thought in their mind. And like they did this in Tasha's with flavoring your spells, right? It's a
Yes,
minor
yeah.
thing, but first-time GMs might not know that that's on the table. So
Right.
because
Again,
it's codified and because it's on the table, they can know to implement it and try to see if they could make things more interesting because of it.
I feel like that kind of stuff. I feel like 5e or D&D, I should say, not necessarily 5e. I feel like D&D is in a weird position where they feel like an obligation to codify stuff like that because they tend to be everyone's first RPG. Like most people start with D&D. So ergo, they feel like this need to be the RPG that teaches everyone how to do the RPG thing. Which is why they tend to do stuff like, oh, we should mention you can reflavor your spells you want, even though everyone was kind of already doing it anyway. They're just kind of putting it out there because they feel like they should. Which, yeah, you're right. It's not necessarily bad. I was just
also
curious. I was just
wait.
curious.
Oh, hold on there, Jethro.
Okay.
So at the very bottom of the milestone, so it's actually it's not technically a milestone. It's its own thing. It's called level advancement without XP. It basically says, like, when you let the story of the campaign drive advancement, you award levels when adventurers accomplish significant goals in the campaign.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so it is called. All right. See, that's what I wanted to know. All right. So it is called out somewhere. It didn't just appear from the ether. Because I always wondered about that. And I probably did read that paragraph a long time ago and probably just forgot, to be honest. Slight backtrack. But okay, so Sam, you said no game has resonated with you with their style of XP system. You don't have a favorite? Like
No,
one that
I
got
really,
close?
I really don't. No,
Okay.
not even.
Do you have one you really fucking hate?
Like,
Every time you see it, you're like, please kill me.
not really. It's kind of hard because, like, I think that D&D's experience system, while especially 5e, where it requires tens of thousands of experience, is a little too much. It's also like, I get it because it's a lot to do with the fact that they give experience for killing monsters and they need a way to balance out leveling so you're not leveling up every session, which is why specific goblins only give so much experience. But at the same time, it's like, it feels so slow that I don't feel like I'm really getting anywhere.
Yeah, well, that ties back into that whole thing of the, like, you know, them assuming 6 encounters a day, which nobody actually does. So it messed up the pacing that they expected. And yeah, because if I remember correctly, I don't remember if I've read this somewhere or what. I remember hearing something about, like, if you do the math and follow the XP track that they expected of you when they first wrote the book, it's something like 30 sessions or some odd. So you'll hit max level, which is like mind-blowing because nobody does that. But apparently if you math it out and do it perfectly to the book, it doesn't take that long, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if anyone's actually done that.
No, people 100% have done that math.
Probably.
I remember seeing this be brought up somewhere.
Because, like, when we played Descent to Avernus, like, we were using Milestone for Avernus.
Right, and Avernus, I mean, Sam, what were you at, 25-ish
We were-
sessions?
20.
Somewhere around there.
20?
Because I would mark every session, like, this is session
20.
2 and the date.
Yeah,
And
right.
we did
And we
the
were-
whole adventure in 20.
Whoa, that was some system shock. Avernus only went 20 sessions?
Right?
Yeah. And we
Remember
were level
how many sessions
14.
we
13, 14. So,
we did
yeah.
miss a couple sessions in
we
between,
missed a
but like,
lot of sessions in between.
but our
but I was-
play sessions. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Sam.
I mean, I was just gonna say, like, a lot of this stuff happened very quickly because the whole realm traversal is like, I don't really feel like doing this right now.
Yeah, right.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Mostly because a lot of the random encounters were like, we did a couple vehicle combat. They weren't all that great. Running them was not fun. Except for the one with the bagpipe bit. That was a good
The
time.
one
That
that
was
you
pretty
made.
great.
Yeah, the one that
That
I
was-
made.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, that was such a weird thing with Avernus, by the way. Side note, I feel like we should do an episode just where we talk about our Avernus game. That was a weird thing where they were like, they advertised like Mad Max in Hell, it's gonna be sick. And then literally nothing in the adventure actually utilizes the whole Mad Max in Hell thing. You have to, as a DM, do it yourself. Just super weird to me. And I
mean,
believe
like-
Saltmarsh also did the same shit where like there's nothing in the main adventure line that utilizes the boats. Just
Wait,
like
what?
I mean, the biggest.
Yes there's like some, but it's not the majority. And the biggest thing they pushed is, in my opinion, what it seemed like to me, the biggest thing they pushed in Salt. Sorry, by the way, sorry for cutting you off, Sam. Was the whole like pirates and D&D. Well, let's do it, but it's not really. What was that accent? What?
I don't know.
Sweet, brother,
Yeah, it was
Pirates and
nice.
D&D. In Texas.
Yeah, it's not even
Hurry, son.
Texas. I've spent
I don't
like
know.
years in Texas. That's
I don't
not
know.
Texas.
I don't know what you're doing there.
Nah, I just want to
Yeah.
play as a Texan pirate. Oh, wait, no. Sorry,
Oh my
Kirk will do that
goodness.
first. Fuck. Never mind. Can't do that.
It's true. But yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry for cutting you off, Sam.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, that was just weird to me with Avernus. They're like, yeah, the hell machines are gonna be sick. And then the only thing they gave you was, what was it, Sam? Those like 3 gang leaders or whatever, but they're not part of the story. They're just there if you want to use them, I guess.
So you get the three guys, and there are like some random table encounters, but they're like, this is a random guy on the motorcycle, which if you're on the motorcycle one, you have no weapons. So there's like If it's just you on that, or it's just one enemy on it, then there's no combat. Like, it's just them.
It's just a chase, basically, at that point.
Yeah, but like D&D chase rules.
Chase rules.
Yeah.
They exist. They're just terrible.
So stupid.
They
The
improved
chase
them in
rules.
Waterdeep.
The chase rules in the DMG are basically like, I don't know. The chase ends when you fucking feel like it. I guess. Who cares?
All right. So
bad.
Okay. In all right. Hold on. In defense of 5e's chase rules, I actually have used them like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Okay.
Same.
And they accomplished the goal. Like it wasn't as smooth as it maybe could have been, but they're not useless.
No, yeah.
Well,
especially
but here's the thing, though, Isaiah.
I'm sorry. No, go for it.
But here's the thing. They already solved this problem in the previous edition. We called it skill challenges.
I mean,
Done.
yes. I'm not gonna like the chases that I've done, because I've done it both ways. I've done it not both ways. I've done it with just rules as written, the way the chase rules are in the book, and then I hybridized that with the clock system from Blades, and that
Which is
works
skill
better.
challenges.
I mean, it works way better.
The clock
like
system the clock system, let me just shout out to Blades. Clock system you can put on every fucking game ever and it works awesome.
It's true.
I've never seen it fail yet. Tangent. But hey,
good.
how long has it been? 45 minutes into the That's not bad. That's not
we already
long.
had a few tangents.
I would say we've had a couple of them.
Damn.
Yeah, unfortunately.
This man thinking we have improved.
I thought we were doing
Little
pretty
does he
good.
realize.
We
No, I
had
don't think we
tangents
will.
even before we started recording.
Matt, what were you gonna say?
Unfortunately.
What were you gonna say, Matt? Before Isaiah,
I lost it. I just lost it. I was like, fuck. Yeah, no.
it was before
No,
I
dude.
said the thing about the Blades clocks
Yeah,
and the
no,
chase
bro,
rules.
we're-
Chase rules.
Oh.
Something about chase rules.
Matt and I
Yeah,
are
it was
fucking
just-
smoothies right now, bro. It's
Yeah.
not happening.
We're all smoothies.
Smoothies. I
Yeah.
love smoothies.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I
doesn't?
think in Waterdeep Dragon
Thanks.
Heist, they did update the chase rules, but they specifically made it more for like a city. Because Waterdeep Dragon Heist is the whole urban and like environment. So
Right, yeah.
it's more about
I
running
remember
from rooftop to rooftop rather than a chase.
Yeah,
in the
they like
Dungeon Master
added a
Guides
couple
anywhere.
of things on. I remember that, but it's
Yeah.
it's still what like it just. I don't know. That,
Yeah.
Again, skill challenges like literally already solved the problem, and then they just took. I still to this day don't understand why they took skill challenges out of 5e. Maybe we'll get it with 5.E5 revised Alpha Redux Turbo Edition. I don't know.
5.E5.
Yeah, so I realized what I said.
Yeah, remember 5e enhanced, 5e5.
Yeah.
5e5, yeah. 5e, no,
What's
5e
this, sorry?
enhanced would be 5ee.
Oh, 5ee,
Jesus
yeah, yeah.
Christ! Now I'm
Yeah.
smoothie.
God.
Somebody call me.
Infection.
You know,
would I be
if
a
you put
cherry
that in a-
smoothie, banana smoothie? What smoothie would I be?
guys, if you put that in a calculator, right, it would look like C. It's a TNTC edition. I'm
C
stretching.
edition.
See?
I think Sam's a banana smoothie.
Oh my god.
No, I'm a strawberry smoothie. What the hell's
Oh,
wrong
strawberry.
with you?
Okay, I can go with strawberry. Yeah, that works too.
God.
Man. Now,
So
now we just
Sam.
gotta have a smoothie one shot.
Yep.
Oh,
Coming
now I
back
want
to
a
me
smoothie
again.
really bad. Yes,
All right.
because I was curious. So I'm just curious. I don't. You might not have an answer to this, but
Oh, I'll have an answer. You just might not like it.
fair enough.
I'm either a berry blast or a tropical punch smoothie.
Ooh, what have you do you have you considered what kind of XP would make you happy? Like if you were to make one yourself, like does that come to mind?
I mean, the closest one that I really like is, the closest to something that I like is Star Wars and Vampire, or Edition Vampire, because
Where you just
I like
get XP at the end.
no. How you use experience.
Oh, the spending of the XP. Yes,
Yes.
but I was more talking about the rewarding. part,
No, the
how you
rewarding,
earn it.
whatever. There's absolutely nothing. I can't even figure it out. I just kind of don't like experience because I don't like getting experience for failing a roll. Because I think that's hilarious.
I mean,
I don't like-
it's to represent your character learning failure.
I get it, but I also think it's hilarious from a mechanical standpoint. I don't really like
I kinda
getting
like it.
experience from. Yeah, that's okay. We can have wrong opinions here.
I didn't come after you.
Wow.
Damn.
I mean, Sam,
Damn.
I'm sorry, but I don't 100% agree with that statement. I think you might be alone here.
That's fine. I like
I
being
mean,
alone because
it is
it
worth
means I'm,
pointing out the
you know,
whole.
better.
It is worth mentioning the getting XP for failing the roll thing wouldn't work in something like 5e, for example, because there's just too many rolls, so it can't apply it to everything.
but like getting experience for just playing the game, I mean, like it makes sense, but at the same time, it either is way too slow or way too fast. And
I just don't like the feeling of here's your one free pity XP for sitting your ass in the chair. Oh, it bothers me. I don't know why it bothers me greatly.
Gosh, a lot of things bother you that don't really make a whole lot of sense, so it's fine.
Correct.
You know, I'm kind of impartial to that. It's more so that I just don't like the speed at which you get it, because the games that do that don't tend to give you experience any other way, and therefore it feels like you don't really progress.
Yeah,
ever.
Exactly. Yeah, you have no control over it. That's the part. I think that is the part that really bothers me. There's no control over it. There's no me as a player having any sort of say over how I'm earning my XP, which is also part of the reason I hate Milestone. Can we just get into why I hate Milestone at this point? Have we hit that point?
No, because you're literally you've tried to call me into this conversation like 4 times now, and you keep tangenting away from me. So I'd like to get my point out before we get into Milestone, so you can act like a buffoon. Anyways, Milestone.
I do agree
mechanically.
I do agree with the spending, the way Star Wars and Vampire.
Oh yes,
spend.
no, I 100%. I think this is just because I like skill points and talent trees way more than I actually like leveling in games.
Fair enough.
I think I've never really liked leveling as a system, because it doesn't really feel like it's one, giving me as a player like a really an actual sense of growth, because like in D&D specifically, it's just like here's your shit that you get for just being this level, whereas I'm making a conscious choice every single time I spend experience in something like Star Wars. And it makes me feel like this character is my character.
Also, skill trees go burp.
Yeah. It probably explains my addiction to Path of Exile. Anyways.
That definitely checks out. It checks out.
So then we get to stuff like Milestone, which I think Milestone has its place. It works at higher levels for D&D. I think it only really works in D&D, especially 5th edition, because 5th edition's experience system is just a little bit wonky, and it feels like, as we've stated many times, they balance it for something that we just don't do. Because I
made a game and then everyone went, no, I don't think I will.
Well, I mean, it's just unreasonable to expect people to go through 6 combat encounters.
6 is a lot. Can we just...
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot,
bro.
Because combat takes a while.
Combat takes a while in 5e, bro. 6 is a lot.
Well, I mean, combat just takes a while in D&D in general.
Yeah, I mean...
Doesn't matter what edition it is, unless you're playing, like, 2nd edition, where you just get murdered for making a small mistake.
Did we hit... I think we actually hit 6 in a day.
No, I think we hit 5.
5? Okay, yeah. I was going to say, we got really close with the most recent dungeon my game, because, and that definitely felt like a lot.
Yeah, no, it was a lot. But
it was also kind of a test.
It was also one of the sessions where, nobody got any roleplay experience because
violence.
Because we were fighting the whole time. I think my notes were literally, we were fighting. And that was about it. We fought lizard men.
It was a good test.
We fought more lizard men, and we fought
jellies and stuff.
More lizard men. There was some other shit.
The
in there,
roper
but it was
and the jellies.
Yeah, the roper. Yeah.
The roper was great.
But point being, it was a lot of combat. It kind of forgoed everything else in the game. There were some small roleplay moments, but they were so far in between. And I think Quest XP is, I do it through the floors that you guys get through.
True. That's basically.
Or for instance, there was a point where I was just like, you know what, you guys level. I don't care. Give yourselves the amount of experience required to hit the next level. I also don't like it when you have an experience system that allows other players to just skyrocket over others, which is kind of why I like the role play, but I don't at the same time, because there's that drawback. And I've mentioned this before, but I really don't like it when that happens, because when we played Stars Without Number, I was 3 levels behind, and I felt useless. I role played, but I felt useless in terms of what was going on outside of my very specific specialties.
I will say, I will say part of the reason in that particular game too was because the other two players were off doing a lot of other stuff where you were like, I can't really help here. This isn't really my thing, so I'll just y'all have fun, I guess. I don't.
I mean, it wasn't even that. It's that they literally would go and do things that were like 3 hours out of a 4-hour session.
Well, yeah, and it was a thing that you couldn't necessarily help with. Like they'd be fighting a bunch of guards, and your character's over here like, I'm not really very good at that.
I literally can't fire a gun
I can barely shoot.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. But like even then, there's a whole lot. Like I couldn't even build my character out to even get into that because of how little I was able to actually get experience. And then my health pool. My God, did I roll bad that game. Anyways, besides the point, I don't know. Nothing is really meshed. I personally like it better when gear matters more, except to the part where there's no role-playing game that I've ever played where gear actually matters that much beyond, like, it gives you +3 to your roll. Or the magic items in D&D can be used in interesting ways, like me calculating out exactly how much force. What is
the decanter of endless water?
Yeah, the decanter. I was going to say Demeter. I'm like, that's the god.
The Dementor.
The decanter of endless water will project if you use it to hit them with the stream of like several gallons of water, and then, you know, how far away they should be launched, because 10 feet is not a whole lot when you think about the sheer force of water cutting through, with the ability to basically cut through armor. Let's be honest, that shit's about as powerful as a pressure washer, if not harder.
Yeah, it's a lot of water.
There's a lot of water to be hit
I still
with.
think about this joke hypothetical of us blasting a goblin off a cliff face just for the lulz, and like, I need it to happen.
I mean,
it's probably gonna happen.
Probably
Let's be
will
real.
at some point. Yeah.
Leah is enough of a nerd to do something like that. But like, you know what? I could probably gone. Doesn't even need to summon a water elemental that, you know, the dish that came with it. Just boop a goblin off a cliff. Doesn't matter.
The only game I can think of where, like, or the game I think of where, where gear is the most helpful or the most important, I guess, would probably be Shadowrun.
It's definitely
that
more
game's
important.
got gear pouring up the ass.
It's definitely more important in Shadowrun than any other game that I can really think of, just because of how much it affects your rolls. But it's like, it's never like, you know, oh God, I think
Want
of things
more
like
fictionally powerful gear.
Yeah, that and like
The Sprawl kind of did that.
Kind of. I mean, I have
Some
some
of
problems
it
with the Sprawl.
Yeah.
There's what's a downtime mechanic? Only mission. Never sit down and talk, friends. Only mission.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea though. That like, maybe make a game around gear mattering.
I mean, we literally have talked about a game where that's the case, or making a game where that's the case. You and I.
Yeah.
But I just, you know, that's work. Takes a lot of time and effort to make that work.
Well, okay, here's a question though, Sam, since you know about it.
Mm-hmm.
What about the way Burning Wheel does advance? That's not really XP or leveling up necessarily.
I mean, I think
about
lifestyle, that's just completely different. I think
Right,
lifestyle.
well, the whole thing
and
of where like
basing-
you have to do a certain number of each of the levels of tests to like increase the skill, like that whole system.
To talk about Burning Wheel, the biggest thing about it is that it's very complicated for newer players, especially people who don't read the book. And I have that problem with a few players that I know where they just don't read, and I can never have them play that game. I really enjoy the idea of, by doing the skill, you get better at it. And Burning Wheel is the only one that it does specifically. You do the skill checks and you pass, and you basically have an epiphany moment. I think it's you have to pass the rolls. I don't think it's you just do the rolls. I'd have to reread the book. I think it's some you can fail, but you have to do specific difficulty rolls.
You have to do specific difficulty. Yeah, so like I forget what they call them, but there's I
think I remember looking into this a little bit. Yeah, so you basically have to pass skill checks of increasing difficulty. So it's like,
Yeah, there's like an easy, medium, hard type thing, and you have to have like, I forget what the Burning Wheel calls them. It's like, what's the phrasing?
They use colors. They use
No, not that. No, that's different. It's the I know you're talking about the dice colors, but that's different. That's
no. The difficulty scaling does include colors as well.
Okay.
So,
either way, the names of the tests where it'll be like mundane, it'll be like difficult, and then it'll be like overwhelming, or I don't remember what words it. Point being, it's like you need 4 easies, 2 mediums, and 1 hard test to increase this skill, and like that's. I don't remember if you have to pass them or not though. That I can't remember. I think you just need to do them. I don't think you need to pass them. But I could be wrong.
I'm not sure. But like,
have you guys?
That's a lot to keep track of. But I really like that idea.
It can be a lot to keep track of, but it is also you're only keeping track of for yourself.
Yes. You're keeping track of it for yourself, but you're also keeping track of it for every single skill you have.
Yeah, I mean, yes, on your on the literal sheet, it's definitely a lot, which is why
it's a
internet
lot.
sheets help.
That's exactly why I would only ever run that game on the internet, or be like, hey guys, take your laptop out and we're going to keep track of it on here because you're going to thank me later.
What were you going to say, Matt?
I was going to say, have you guys played the new edition of Call of Cthulhu? Because they have something where, so if you roll a skill and you succeed on it, you put it like they have on the character sheet, like a little dot. And for each skill that you roll during a session that you pass, you put a dot next to that skill. Then you roll that skill, and depending on what your skill number is, if you roll lower than that number, then that skill increases. Which I think is kind of like an interesting way to like level up that.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to the Burning Wheel idea.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can see that getting out of hand real fast. But Call of Cthulhu is also a game where you're supposed to just not have fun as a character, and by that I mean not have fun playing the game, but your character is having a bad time.
Yeah, Call of Cthulhu is weird.
It's weird.
The like type of fiction the book describes, and then how actually people play it are like not congruous at all.
No. I mean, if you've ever like read any stories of people playing Call of Cthulhu, it's like basically they have all of these skills just because of their backstory, and it's like that's not really how the game is played, but it's whatever.
Yeah. Well, also, I feel like every Call of Cthulhu story I've heard ends up in wacky woohoo, like we use 6 million tons of dynamite to blow up the aliens type nonsense.
I mean, like, is that weird. Not what you would do? Yeah. That's exactly what I would do. Just from orbit.
But like, that's not like if you read the book, like the way the game describes how it's supposed to feel versus that kind of stuff, it does not line up.
I feel like that's always going to be the case with a lot of games where.
Oh, it definitely is. I just feel like Call of Cthulhu
go out of their way to. Well, I mean, D&D too, because D&D is supposed to be the epic misfit adventure, and then it becomes the epic Lamau misfit adventure. It's
like, what if
slap that LMAO in there?
Lol, random Guardians of the Galaxy fantasy.
It becomes the riding down the hell highway listening to Redbone on a Saturday night.
What are you talking about, Isaiah? Who would do that? That sounds ridiculous.
So crazy, so ridiculous.
Who would jam to Redbone on their hell machine? That's absurd.
Let's go kick Asmodeus' ass.
And then have their kobold turn into a sexy Fabio Dragonborn angel man, and then rescue the city by releasing another hunky angel man. What are you talking about?
And then also a gorilla to fight the giant hell beast and almost
right. Turn your friend into a gorilla to suplex the hell beast.
Almost get eaten by the same hell beast.
Oh my god, we got a one.
Let's not forget Riemann literally suplexing Yenagu.
I was gonna say that entire story of the Yenogu fight is gonna be like,
oh my god,
what a bad time.
Right.
I don't think I've ever experienced another player's character having such a bad time for about 10 rounds.
Absolutely terrible time. Yeah,
I bring him back up. Just let me die.
Smash. Just get slapped around for 5. I said 10. I meant 5 rounds.
It was a good time for me.
It felt like 10 rounds.
Oh, for you.
Therapeutic. I will say that. Okay, all right. If you ever have had to deal with a barbarian and you're just like, why won't this guy ever go down? because of their resistance. When you finally bring out that mob that just wipes the floor with them, it feels good. It really feels good. Like, it's not supposed to be a DM versus player perspective. But when that frustrating feeling of, oh, I did this much damage and now I have to have it just goes away, and you start rocking their world, I don't know. It feels good. It's not as amusing as, when you smack a kobold and he goes down every single combat encounter for 10 sessions in one hit. Like, that's not pleasing. It's when you smack your barbarian 5 times in a row and he's almost literally helpless. It was real bad when he was knocked prone.
He was absolutely helpless.
Knocked prone, then paralyzed. Knocked prone, then confused. Knocked prone, then paralyzed. And
I forgot about the confused bit. That was so brutal.
Yep. Yunagu's a little bit powerful, not gonna lie. I know you guys experienced it firsthand, but
By the way, dear viewers, that is the second time, count it, the second time that Josh is like, we can probably handle this. I think we got this.
Hey, hold on. That was a different scenario. I didn't think literal Yenagu was gonna roll up. That is not the same deal.
No, it doesn't matter. You were like, it'll be fine, and then
I did say it'll be fine. It was not fine. I mean, it was fine because we lived, but I
would say I had a great time. I 1v1 Merilith, and it was great.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I was expecting you to die horribly.
Same. I had a 10 con the entire campaign. I was like, how am I not dead yet?
You did 1v1 the Merilith. That being said, the Merilith did sweetly caress your cheek and you almost went down in one hit.
Yeah, true. This is also true. Glass cannon.
I mean, both can be true at the same time. So, all right. Well,
be glad that
I suppose that answers my curiosity for the most part. Sam says, "Poo-poo, all tabletop RPGs bad. XP bad."
Yep, that's exactly what I said, word for word, verbatim. Literally cannot argue otherwise.
Poo-poo
that's how I remembered it. That's not what you just said?
No, I was agreeing. That's exactly what I just said.
Okay.
Exactly.
My opinion is actually not an opinion. It is fact. Therefore,
that's right.
Everybody else is wrong.
That's right, Sam. You tell him.
I don't know about all that, but...
tell him, bud.
I'm 100% right. Experience is garbage. We shouldn't even be playing tabletops. Nothing is worth it.
Just play video games.
Just play video games. What is this player expression thing? Get that out of here.
Just
roleplay in my tabletop role-playing game? Nah.
Can you imagine if 14 had the inflated number? Oh my god. Wow. Can you imagine if D&D had the same inflation numbers as 14? It's like, oh, you need about 75 million XP to hit that level, bud. And you're like, I don't know how many Tarasques that is, but that's a lot of Tarasques.
I mean, MMOs always get into wacky woohoo territory with the XP numbers. That's pretty. That's standard. They all do that. It's funny because the early levels, they'll be like, you need 100 XP to hit level 2, and then later in the game, it'll be like, you need 60 billion XP to hit level 80, and you're like, well, that's only 5 dungeons. Let's go.
I mean, the thing about that specifically is because it's like, all right, well, you need to be able to level up from killing some mobs so you feel good about yourself, and the serotonin gets running, and then then we teach you got to do quests, and then. Oh, look at this handy dandy dungeon over here gives more experience because they don't want you just sitting in forest killing boars for 70,000 hours to level up.
Why not? That seems fun.
Yeah, it seems like so much fun. I would do it. Yeah. No, I really wouldn't. I'd rather die.
Damn. Tell me how you really feel.
I feel like that guy who has leveled a Pandarian because he doesn't want to swap, doesn't want to pick a side by gathering for God knows how many hours to level cap several times. That man has more willpower than I have ever had in my entire life combined. I don't know how he does it. Well, I know he said that he watches Netflix and stuff, but that man, of course he does. I just I couldn't do it. And I level crafters and gatherers in 14. It's
a special kind of willpower. Yeah, I mentioned
every single one.
I guess I didn't mention
What's the point?
I didn't say my favorite like XP system. I'm not gonna say my own because that would be a little weird. I probably it's sort of between. This isn't gonna surprise any of you, by the way. It's sort of between Dungeon World and Apocalypse World as far as like favorite XP systems. They're not like each other. They just happen to both have systems that I like. The reason Sam mentioned the failing rolls thing, that's actually a thing in Dungeon World. So anytime you fail a roll, you mark a point of XP. And now failing a roll in Dungeon World means that on the roll of 2d12 plus your stat, you got a 6 or below. So if you roll I said 2d12, 2d6s. You roll 2d6s plus a stat. So like if you have 0 strength, let's say you just be rolling 2d6 to hack and slash somebody. Let's say you roll a 3 and a 2, so you got a 5. So you failed the roll, you mark the XP. The way that game maths out, as you start to get higher up in levels, basically the failures drastically decrease. So XP from that particular source pretty drastically decrease. There's 4 ways you get XP in. There's the failed rolls. And then you have, like I mentioned, you have the alignment system. So for example, like I said with the ranger, your alignment is chaotic. You like disavow any sort of civilization. At the end of the session, you get XP for that. Then you have the bonds, which every character in Dungeon World have bonds between them. One, for example, that the fighter has is something along the lines of like, this character, and then it's like, this person, like blank line, is weak. I will have to protect them. And then if at any point in the session, the 2 players agree that that bond is either completed or no longer relevant, you take it off and you mark XP. Now, no longer relevant can be the other player has proven to the fighter player that they are actually much tougher than they thought. Or it could be the other character died. So like if the fighter was like, oh, I believe the thief, the rogue, rain no worky. I believe the rogue is weak. If the rogue dies, that bond is considered resolved. So the fighter gets XP for the rogue dying. Another example is if the 2 players are basically like, you know what, we don't actually care about this anymore. Like this particular bond between us is not really relevant to our characters anymore. Then you mark it done. It's completed. So they be completed like a whole bunch of different ways. Then the 4th way you get XP is at the end of every session, there's 3 questions. I forget what the default questions are, but basically you ask the 3 questions sort of as a group and say, did we do this, did we do this, and did we do that? And then if you hit the 3 questions, you get a point of XP. If you hit one, I forget if it's 1 XP for each question or if it's just if you hit any of them, you get 1 XP. I think if you hit any of them, you get 1 point. That's how Dungeon World does it. And I like it because there's multiple ways to do it and none of them require you to go out of your way. They all fall within the type of play you're already doing. And then Apocalypse World has a similar system to bonds. It works a little different, but similar idea. Because Apocalypse World has history. And as you increase your history with another character, it's a stat, essentially. That's like a 0 to 4 number. Once you get it to 4, you reset the history to 0, you get a point of XP. Or if you go down to -4, because it can also go into the negative, you reset to 0, get a point of XP. And the other way Apocalypse World does XP is at the beginning of a session, the GM and one other player, that the player that has the highest history with you, they're like, all right, so like my character has the highest history with Matt's character, then Matt gets to pick one of my stats as a highlight, and every time I roll that stat, I mark XP. So Matt says, all right, I'm gonna mark your hard. And then so every time I roll my hard stat for one of my moves that involves hard, I get XP. And you do that once for the GM and once for another player, so you always have 2 stats highlighted. And that I also like because, again, it's just tying into what you're already a part of. And the idea is that the different stats are tied to specific moves that resolve certain kinds of things. So if you're like, man, I really liked it last session when your character went in guns a-blazing, so I'm going to mark your hard to encourage you to do it again. because I liked that. I was a fan of that. So I'm going to mark that stat to reward you for doing the thing that I liked. So that's the idea there. And that is basically, for me, the best way to do XP. And this is one of the reasons, this is probably the main big thing I don't like about it. I like the XP system in your game tells me what your game is about. That's important. So for example, D&D, it's a game about killing monsters. What do you get XP for? Killing monsters. Now D&D does also have the other problem of like, oh, well, it's about collecting loot and dungeoneering and stuff. And it's like, yes, but I'm not rewarded for any of that. So it sort of falls to the wayside.
Yeah, it's weird because the three pillars, exploration,
right.
Roleplay, and combat. But
only combat is rewarded.
Yeah,
exactly. Your game, the best XP systems are the stuff where it's like, this is what my game is about. This is so ergo, this is what I give you. For example, let's say you had a game. Let's say you're playing a tabletop game about, what's that game you played, Matt? Payday. Let's say you're playing a tabletop version of Payday, right? Which is about like robbing banks and shit.
Yeah, basically.
Right? But then let's say in that game, you are rewarded for hanging out with cops. Then your game is not about heists. It's about hanging out with cops. Even if you have all these mechanics for robbing the bank, the thing you're rewarding the players for is having donuts and coffee with the cops. That's what you're telling them to do. So it's like,
right.
That's one of my big things with Milestone is Milestone, essentially what you're saying is you get rewarded for following the GM's breadcrumbs. So that's what you're supposed to do.
That's not entirely true because
it's a simplification. I know it is. I'm being a little sassy because it's a little bit of simplification. It is.
Yeah.
But like if you think about it, it's not wrong. You know what I mean?
Yes and no, because one of my friends, because I asked them like before this conversation, like, do you prefer XP, Milestone? And it was literally half and half. The ones that said that they prefer like XP over Milestone, one of them was a new player, so they're like, oh, I just like seeing my progress go up. Yeah, numbers go up. Yeah, and I'm like, okay. The other one is the guy that plays second edition still. So his whole thing was, I'm actually gonna read what he like some of the stuff he wrote. He's just like, XP rewards you for doing small side stuff, even besides killing monsters. But most of his argument is also like it's a lot of stuff on the GM side, where it's you give XP for rewards, you give for role playing, you give XP for money, you give XP for killing monsters, you give XP for creative things and RP, and it's like, okay, but that's on the DM to then like figure out like, all right, how much XP is RP? How much XP do I give him for gold? Like,
which is why I designed a very specific mathematical system for it.
Right.
So I didn't have to be arbitrary about it. I tied it to specific numbers.
Right.
That's helps with that a lot.
Right. And like one of the big things like most people have against like Milestone is the fact that like people say that like Milestone de-incentivizes combat. Unless it's like...
That's not even my beef with it. I actually don't mind that part.
Oh, no.
Funny enough.
Yeah. No, that's just a main argument a lot of people end up using against Milestone. It's like, oh, de-incentivizes combat, so your players aren't going to fight and they're going to try and run away more or whatever. And it's like, I don't think so. Like, if you have a good group of players, they'll know when to take a hook, story stuff. They'll know when to fight.
I mean, they should be doing that.
In my Storm King's Thunder group, literally last week, we're dealing with cloud giants, like, that are coming after us. And literally the DM even joked, he's just like, guys, just let me fight you. And we're like, no, we're going to do everything in our power.
I don't think I will.
Yeah. We're like, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure we avoid combat because they're fucking giants. They're giants that can fly.
I feel like I kind of want to throw my 2 cents in here as a dungeon master. Who the fuck cares if your players are trying to avoid combat? I actually find that more interesting than every player running dick first into combat.
I agree.
Right? Yeah. Because if your players 100%. Are actually taking the time to think about, well, we might have to fight something else and our resources are limited, and since we're not being directly rewarded for murdering things, maybe we shouldn't murder everything in our path. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Right.
Like I have had times where I've set up like 3 or 4 possible combat encounters, and I mean like fully build them ready to go. My players went, no, and no, and we're gonna try to not do any of this. And I was like, okay, because they knew that there was a massive fight coming the next session or two, and they weren't gonna have the time to rest. So to me, that shows critical thinking on their part, and I could not get mad at that. It doesn't make sense to me for someone to get upset about that.
Yeah,
Right.
No, I agree. It doesn't. Yeah, like it is. If they're taking the time to like activate more wiggly brain juice, like generally means they're more engaged anyway, right? Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that as a complaint, Matt, because that is 100% like not even on my brain when it comes to my issues with Milestone.
Right. I bring it up because it's literally the first talking point anyone has
That's
against it. It's
Huh.
always like, just no one wants to fight. D&D is about killing monsters. But if you take away the XP, then you don't kill monsters. And it's like,
Here's the problem
And-
with that argument, though. Also, right? Let's just what's sort of like appease that argument for a second. I don't know.
Right.
You say, well, D&D's a game about killing monsters, and if you take away the XP, then they're not going to want to kill monsters. It's like, here's the thing, though. True, you take away the XP, you do de-incentivize it a little bit. However, the entirety of all those cool toys on your character sheet are still like 90% about killing monsters, and you want to use your cool toys. So at
Right.
some point in time, you're going to be like, well, we got to fight that dragon because I want to use my new ability.
yeah.
You know? So like, it really, it's not an on-off switch. It's a dial. It adjusts.
Yeah, and there was
You
a
know?
lot of things where like one of the examples I actually ended up looking up for like XP stuff was back in like 3rd edition in Greyhawk Adventures. The characters only got experience for killing monsters, and it created the mentality of murder hoboing and, bro,
Yeah.
I'm only 40 experience points from leveling up. Can I just find a boar? Can I just do
go
World of
kill like a
Warcraft?
peasant.
Yeah,
That's another
yeah.
thing, by the way. Sam, you have to be on the page with me with this. There's no way, not no way. Isn't it weird that there's no cutoff point like an MMO? I remember when I started D&D, because I played WoW before that, I had that in my brain where it's like, well, you don't get any XP for low level things because they're too low level, but you still do in D&D. There's no cutoff, right? Like, that always bugs me. Like,
Yeah.
I
I agree. It's strange, which is why like I find it weird that the reason for D&D specifically is like they just have challenge rating is just not a good system as is designed, because like I feel like if they went ahead and they properly designed challenge rating, they would have definitely done something like that and then kept levels like,
maybe.
you know, every 1,000 experience you get, you level up, but you know, anything below CR2 at level 5 is not going to give you anything, or it's going to give you severely diminished returns.
Yeah, think about it. Right now, rules is written. If you're a level 19 fighter, you could just go slaughter you just genocide the goblin race and hit level 20. It's only 25 XP per goblin, but you can get through a lot of fucking goblins when you're a level 19 fighter.
Right. But also,
So
what
you
kind of
can just-
madman DM is just like, yeah, I'll let this happen.
Oh,
I'll
I
let
mean,
there be this
no,
many
of course
goblins.
not.
And it's like,
Of
I mean,
course not.
that's not.
But like, hypothetically
hypothetical.
speaking.
yeah, I know. I'm just
No, dear. Yo,
hypothetically, DM's like, finally, I can use my 1,000 goblin minis that I bought.
Yeah,
I've been saving them
Oh,
for one
God.
moment.
all at the
Not
same
even-
time.
That's even worse. I don't know. All right.
Thousands.
Yeah,
You
no.
just get your bucket of goblin minis and just dump them on the table.
That's right. You just pull of Matt Mercer, just like, I have everything. I mean everything. Thousands of goblins.
Thousands of goblins.
That's a lot.
At that point,
Yeah,
you'd be hit a ticker just to keep count. You'd be like 1, 2, 3, just like clicking a button. 5.
I've done
6,
that.
7.
I've done that.
Oh my god.
With like, what, every monster or something?
Yeah,
Every monster you kill. Yeah.
So I do these things very, very rarely where I'll have like mass combat, but it's mass combat based on narrative, right? Like I don't prepare monsters. I look at the stat sheet for like a bandit, and obviously again I'm playing the 12th time. I'm playing in a post-apocalyptic game that I'm running, so it's like I'll take like a bandit captain, right? and I'll normally if I'm doing combat, because Hellscapes promotes such high damage output all the time, always, all of my standard bandits are bandit captains statted out and then changed, because the players just do that much damage at level 9.
Goddamn.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But so like we had this one part where the players were taking it's basically like a city on wheels, right? Like just a massive moving city, because my game is kind of like Borderlands inspired. And basically they split into 2 teams and were trying to protect this moving city from an army of bandits. So I used the 4E mob rule, so every enemy has 1 HP, and then it's a save or suck on all saving throws. If they succeed, they live. If they fail, they just fucking explode. And I was like, well, we'll throw with 30 guys at them. Let's say I'll throw a solid 30 dudes at them, and every time they killed one, I'd mark down 1 on the list, and I'd mark 3 for a swarm. I'll do a bandit swarm, and I'll mark 3 off for that. And I'll just sort of.
Sorry, no, go for it.
Yeah, it's all describing it. So I'll just describe
and
then a bandit runs up to you. Yeah. And once they kill 30 bandits, or they get kills equal to 30 bandits, then it's okay. Now you've beat this encounter, and then here's some time to rest. Wave 2 comes in, and then you have to do that again. But yeah, I will literally just use a tally mark and just kind of mark it off as I go.
That's not a terrible way to do it.
Yeah, that's a good idea to handle mass combat. Yeah,
killing but genociding the goblin race. Funny in my head.
It's problematic from a design standpoint, but DM's never gonna actually allow that, or they're gonna be like, yeah, you went off and you genocided the goblins. Everybody else, you get 2 years of downtime.
Yeah. Everyone else, in the meantime, what y'all up to?
Yeah.
That whole what you incentivize, right? That is one of my big. That really is probably the number one reason that I don't like Milestones, because I do feel like it's incentivizing follow the GM's breadcrumbs. And obviously you're already doing that to a certain degree, but the idea of doubling down on it, you're rewarded for being a good boy, and then the GM gives you a nice little treat at the end. It's called a level, and I'm just I don't know. It just has this kind of it's a little degrading almost.
I don't know, but that's
well, I don't know if degrading is the right word for it.
Maybe that's not the word, but
I've never felt
it just bugs me, gets to me.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever felt. I've always been annoyed whenever, do we level yet? No. Do we level yet?
Yeah,
no. Do we level yet? No. But that's a communication thing. That's something that can be easily fixed by the DM, just staying in constant communication with the players, right? And you can do, and I remember we spoke about this yesterday. I don't know if you were there, Josh, but it's not like D&D doesn't do that, right? If you're using Milestone in Strahd, when you go to the Vistani village and you get the Taroka cards, they literally spell out for you in lore, if you do these things, you are going to become stronger. You're going to be greatly rewarded for doing them, right? So if you find the book of
Actually, very good point. You know what, Isaiah? You just reminded me of the thing that I did want to bring up, is Strahd. Strahd is a way of doing the milestone thing that I like a little bit more, because it's not necessarily just follow the trail of breadcrumbs. It's here's a bunch of different goals, and when you hit those goals, you get a level. It's very direct. I know exactly what I'm going for. I can do it in whatever order I want. We knew, for example, if we got the 3 green gemstones, we were getting a level. So when we got the first one, we were sick. All right, 1 of 3. And then we got the second one, we're cool, 2 of 3. That way of doing it, better, because that's essentially, then you've turned it into quest XP, right? And because my other beef with Milestone, my other major beef with it, is I don't like not having control over when I level up. You know what I mean? I remember specifically, and this is not on you, Sam, this is obviously on the adventure, because I know the adventure points out these markers. I remember a couple of times in Avernus being oh, we're definitely going to get a level right here. And then we didn't. It was a moment that I was this seems like a justifiable point for a level up. But then it wasn't there because the adventure just didn't deem it so. And that drives me crazy. I don't like, I want to be able to look at my sheet and say like, okay, either look at my sheet or I want to be able to look at something and be like, okay, if I do this, I get the thing and I'm this close and this is what I need to do to get that point, you know? So yeah, the Strahd thing of like, well, complete these different objectives. I'm like, okay, I can gauge in my brain, like, all right, we're really close to this objective. We've got 2 of the 3 green stones. We get the 3rd one, we're Gucci. So let's hunt this sucker down.
Right.
But so yeah, that's
no, go for it.
well, yeah. So that's really my whole thing, right? Is that while I completely understand people's problem with milestone leveling and the idea around it, but it's not, the problems that it has are all problems that can be very easily solved with very simple communication with your players. It's really not that big or that insurmountable of a problem, right? And if
I would argue that the communication helps. You're not wrong, but even with the good communication, it would still, you know, it still has that kind of implication of like, yes, just keep following the breadcrumb. Like it still has that little part that would bug me, even if you are communicating to me, you know what I mean?
Okay, sort of. Like
it would still bother me a little bit.
I see the idea of what you're saying because you're feeling that it sort of promotes railroading more than an open system.
Not even necessarily railroading, because it could be kind of open-ended. Like the breadcrumb trail could be very wide. It could be a field of breadcrumbs, but it is very like, I don't know, just like lead by the nosy kind of. Maybe I'm not getting across what I want.
I understand what you're saying, but again, I think that's one of those things that are very easily fixed. Right?
Like, okay. The thing that it is about it, if it makes me feel like as a player, I'm not gonna bother trying to spread out, think outside the box, like shift around, because if I misstep on the breadcrumb trail, I miss my XP and I want to level. So it makes my thinking narrow a lot more than it would otherwise. You know what I mean? Whereas like if it's quest style XP, I just need to know, all I need to know is I need to complete the quest, but I can complete the quest however the fuck I want, as long as I do it.
Yeah,
whereas a lot of like Avernus, a lot of the milestones in Avernus were just kind of like, get in there, chief, you know? So I didn't really, I felt narrow in my choice, in my like ability to do anything.
Yes, but I feel like Avernus is not the greatest way to gauge that, because Avernus is a lot less sandboxy than I would like.
True. Well, I don't know, actually. I mean, question, Sam. Does Avernus talk about doing it in a sandboxy fashion at all in that adventure? I don't really. Kinda.
It's the problem with Avernus being sandbox is not a whole lot of information that it gives you for like the encounters.
Okay.
It's like,
had a feeling.
So you get tables and stuff, and you know the plane has devils and demons on it, which is the war going on. You can encounter pretty much anything. You can do it sandbox. Like you can do, you know, just an adventurer in hell. It gives you enough information on it, but like at the same time, you're in Avernus. You've got 2 or 3 places that you can really stop and trade for equipment, or sell stuff, or get food.
Yeah, like, it's the post-apocalyptic wasteland without any of the marketplaces.
Yeah, because you got the one really, and that's about it. Can't forage for food because it's hell. But like, you know, if you were to take away Milestone and be, hey, go fight things for 6 years, you'd be there for
a lot of wasteland.
A lot of yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I don't know. I think Milestone works in very specific circumstances, especially later levels.
Yeah, definitely.
Because at that point, it's, you're a god. Why do you even care?
Yeah.
If once you hit level 15, at that point, it's not even about experience, because if your build isn't on what's the phrase?
On fleek.
Not what I was going for. No.
Build on fleek.
No. God, if you're online, I don't know why online fucking
I don't know.
escaped me. But
I like
if your
build on
build is
Fleek better though.
if your build is not online by level 15, you're doing something insane, or at least functional.
All right.
If you're not enjoying yourself at that point because your character isn't where you want them to be, I don't know what you're doing, fam.
You're fucking
I don't
struggling.
know. You probably should have stopped playing that character for ages ago,
Yeah.
or you're in the wrong campaign. I like. There's a lot of things like if you, or you're just with the wrong group. That's another thing. There's
That
a
could be
whole lot
another
of
one.
things that go into not enjoying a character. Yeah, not having total control over it is kind of irritating, but at the same time, honestly, I don't really care about the experience serotonin button. It doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, the
It appears-
serotonin button don't hit the same percent.
No, I really don't. Like I said,
that level
I
up
like
ding is not the same.
I like talent points. I like talent trees. I like working towards something rather than like, yeah, here's your level, fam. Yeah, sure, I like leveling up because it gives me new stuff, but it's not because I hit an experience threshold. It's because I'm getting new stuff, which I can do in a much more controlled fashion if I have that talent tree.
I don't know why. I also just kind of like the XP number going wee. Like I don't know.
I literally can. I don't. Okay, when numbers go up or down, I literally only think of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Interesting.
Just the sound effect of the life counter going up or down.
I can only think of that video.
Exactly. No, I don't know. So when experience goes up, my brain goes Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'm like, oh, that's cringe, bro.
So
Yeah, but,
I
I mean-
have a. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, it's like the video game mentality too of it. You play Call of Duty, you play Halo, any of these games, you see your score going up, you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's great. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
What I was going to ask you, and this is basically a completely unrelated topic to this, just in general. What part of playing the game or playing a character for you hits that serotonin button?
For Sam or for me?
For any of you, like what aspect of building a character, playing a character, role-playing a character, advancing a character, what part of that hits that button for you?
I think any cool role play.
I feel like this is a whole other episode topic.
It could be. but like,
It might be. So this is gonna probably be my next episode. But like,
Yeah, maybe write that one down as it.
yeah. But like, what are some things? I'm still gonna ask it. Just like preview it. Like, do you like having cool character moments? Do you like building certain aspects of your character at creation? Like, just quick, just snappy, like off the top of your head.
I really like going into the one portion of my character that I wanted to explore throughout the campaign. Whether it's like, this character is a historian, this character is a pilot, this character really likes, I don't know, something like that. And like making and taking that piece and just going with it is something that just I really enjoy. And it's kind of my goal with a lot of characters. So when I don't meet that goal, I end up not really liking playing the character because it's not meeting my expectations. Combat, whatever. Conversing is a whole other thing because usually that goes into play with what the character is doing and what they're trying to do or what my goal is with them. I don't know. It almost has nothing to do with character building unless it's specifically for that goal.
Okay. You, Josh?
I think I might have to reserve until we do a full episode. I don't know that I really have an answer right off the top of my head right now, other than like definitely when I build a character, I'm excited to try out the mechanical bits of the character, It varies a little game by game, but definitely like with 5e, if I'm playing a wizard, then I'm excited about trying out cool wizard spells. But yeah, I don't know that I have a full answer. I think I have to actually. I'm cheating a little bit, but I think I need to think about it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt?
any kind of like story character moment. That's kind of like I'm definitely more of the narrative player, the role player. Whenever it comes to the group, like doesn't matter if I have like super cool powers. It's like as long as I can RP, have a good time.
I really thought that you were gonna say something along the lines of like my character getting to be a clown.
That's gonna happen regardless.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
At some point, I can't make a serious character.
Like,
so.
I kind of wish I had more to build off of this, but like when you got to meet your father's killer in Avernus, I was like, this is something that I've been building towards personally, like waiting for it to happen for basically every session until like session 17 or 18.
Oh yeah, that was sick. I was so happy with that.
And you know, it ended up being a goofy, hey, here's your one-on-one in a boxing match style. But at that same time, I was like, you know, I feel like Matt will appreciate the goofiness of this and he'll get his one-on-one. Although I realized that he was not as strong as I had intended him to be because of when you got to fight him versus when I had designed for him to be.
Right.
fought.
Yeah. Yeah, to be fair, I did kind of cheat.
Well, is that why? So did you use Shandul kicking his ass as the justification for his stat block, or the other way around?
A little bit. His stat block did not change. It was his health pool that I changed. And I had originally designed him to be fought, I think, at level 8, and you guys were level 12. And I was like, all right.
Oh, shit. Yeah, we were towards the end of the campaign when we fought.
You were,
yeah.
So, like, I hadn't, because I just couldn't find a good place to insert him. And I didn't want it to be like an encounter out in the desert, because that wouldn't feel right. Shortly before Riemann had his emotional moment, I'm like, I can't put both of them in the same place.
Same. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie though, because like when he 1v1'd me, I was sitting there like, man, if he has a second phase, I think I'm gonna die. Because I was waiting for him to transform. I'm like, bro, oh no.
I mean, you do literally kill him so fast, I couldn't even think about that. But like, I had made his health pool. I probably should have just kept it the same. I had made his health pool like just within range of you to kill him within like 2 to 3 turns, then you killed him in 2 turns.
Yeah, because I had the what's that? So protection from good and evil on me.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally like he had disadvantage on me, and then because I was a paladin rogue, dumb glass cannon build. Yeah.
It was a time. I think you also had some other buffs placed on you beforehand by other people.
I think so. I know Paz gave me his weapon of warning too.
Mm-hmm. That was
yeah.
So you
fucking
had
katana of warning,
katana.
baby.
Yeah. You had a bunch of stuff that was like, hey, just hold on to this for a little bit, and we'll see you on the other side, buddy.
Yeah, because I was totally expecting to get like fucking like cheeks clapped the entire fight. I'm just like, oh man, I hope these buffs matter, and then they fucking saved my ass.
Not to tell you how to like do your job, Sam, but I feel like you totally could have just like had him come back again later.
No, I
just to be like, now is the real fight.
I could have, but at the same time, here's the problem with that. I was already feeling burnt out on Avernus at that point.
Fair enough.
That was that moment right there, and then the scab. I was like, all right, this is it. This is kind of like I'm getting the moments that I wanted out of the campaign, and then we're done. Like we had the big battle at the end after Unigu, and then it was just
the scab was so weird.
I don't really like the way that the scab was designed because they had the map. We played on Roll20
map.
For reference. The map was sideways, but it also looped around because you weren't going straight into the center. You were going around it. So they had it ramp. Yeah. But it didn't really they didn't explain that very well, and it's not very well perceived. So there was the point where one of you crossed the threshold and then just popped out on the other side of the map.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
And you could have also dug through the scab as well. Like every tile had hit points and an armor class, and some of it was tougher than others, and some of it was very weak. Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think I don't remember if it was me, but someone dug through the scab. I think to like get to the
Yes.
rest of the team. We we split the party a little bit, and then a bunch of like, what was it, Nowfish Nays, big pig guys,
There
pig
was
demon?
one.
Yeah, well, it was they were the ones who were digging into the scab to get to Bluka, and then we like
that guy.
dug the rest of the way. I can't remember what his name is right now.
Cortul? No. Cortumac? Cortumac, right?
No,
No, it's
Cortumac's
not.
the kobold guy.
That's the kobold guy.
that's the Damn it.
No, it's Yanogu's pet, the one that
yeah,
like
hold on. I'm
like
Big,
grows
big
up.
mouth.
Yeah, big
yeah,
mouth.
I'm looking at it real quick. It's something stupid. What the fuck? Is he not on the what?
It should be.
Oh, Krokik-Toic.
Krakatoic. Oh my god.
I believe we made the joke that his name was actually Krakatoa.
Krakatoa. That was like an entire session and a half.
Yeah.
God, that was funny.
We are smart players. We know how to pronounce every word in every language ever.
Yeah. Which
We
also
don't make fun
does.
of names all the time. I mean, Paz literally had that boon,
right.
demonic boon or whatever, tongues.
That was great.
Literally speak and understand any language. I still remember the time where you're like, and I say this in Abyssal because no one would understand that, and I just lean into the mic and go, one of them responds.
Yeah. Well, so their Descent to Avernus actually comes with a pronunciation guide. I found
I was
out.
about
Yes.
I'm looking at
I was about to
CDB
ask
right
that
now.
shit.
I do
I
hate
think
that
most of the
they
adventures do.
do they? I didn't know that.
I think so.
Most of the
I hate
modern
I hate
ones.
I really hate that they're still being super indecisive on Asmodeus, because it's like Osmodeus or Osmodeus, and it's like, no, cut that shit out. Give me one or the other. I don't fucking care.
Just put your foot down.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's Osmodeus, but like,
No,
and if
let's just-
anyone disagrees with these listeners,
Yeah,
by the way,
Let's
you're
just change it
fucking
to
wrong.
Satan.
I
It's just
say
easier.
Asmodeus.
Or what? Or they did it for Mordenkainen. That's literally
Did
a
they?
dude's name. You can't like being like, Josh, is your name Josh or Jash? It's like either or.
Jash.
No, it's like no, it's a real name.
Jash.
Like, or it's not a real name, but it's a person's
name.
name.
Yeah, I feel it.
Now you're now
Yo,
Jash.
Who said? I don't think I've ever said Mordenkainen. Like that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I don't know
It
who
doesn't.
says that.
No, but I guess maybe somebody says it.
I know, like when I watched the like the videos from D&D Beyond YouTube when like the book was coming out, I think most of them were like it's Mordenkainen, like that. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
all
like
right, all right. Do y'all say Zariel or Zariel?
Zariel.
Zariel.
Zariel. It's Zariel, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Ariel.
All right.
Zariel? What?
Yeah.
That one could be either. Is it Avernus or Avernus?
Oh no.
Avernus.
Avernus like a furnace.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Avernus like a furnace.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I wish y'all could have seen that fucking Austin Powers ass face Josh just made in the camera.
What do you mean?
He just did the like, I'll hang you. Like, yo, that was great.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. Alrighty. Well, we've now landed in a completely different universe. So,
Tangents.
Wait, no, I
Tangents
hate
everywhere.
this. So,
Hate
all right,
what?
wait. So, you know the smelly goat demon dudes that you had us fight,
yeah,
Josh?
Blezula or whatever.
Yeah, they're called a Bulazao.
Oh, Bulazao. Yeah.
Bulazao.
Bulazao. Yep. I remember looking
I hate that.
I remember looking that one up on D&D Beyond. Bulazao. I love the way they pronounce things on D&D Beyond. That shit's hilarious. Bulazao. Babu.
Yeah, I believe Matt Mercer and Marisha Ray do most of the races.
I think
Chris
so.
Perkins
yeah.
also does a couple of them.
And that's when I found out that it was pronounced Fearbolg, and I will never forgive the
Wait,
universe for
fear,
that.
not Furbolg?
No, it's not. It's Furbolg. I don't care
Yeah.
what anyone says.
I understand.
I
No,
refuse.
I agree. I mean, like Fearbolg, it's I believe it's Scandinavian, so it would be Fearbolg,
Right.
but like no,
we don't do that here.
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
do
if you
that
look
yet.
at
Don't
older
do that.
editions, Furbolgs were just big burly men, like cannibals and stuff, and now they're
What, so
They were just like big Viking men.
basically.
yeah. So basically, what I'm really quoting. God
Killing it,
damn it.
Isaiah, killing it.
I know. I believe Mr. X did, because I'm not doing the research on this. I believe Mr. X said that there was 2 versions of Fear. Ooh, said it. I just said it.
You just did it.
I just did it the wrong way.
Fear the boog.
I believe that he said that there's actually 2 versions of that race. And like one is like the Viking people and the other is the fucking forest hippies.
I learned about furbolgs from WoW, where they're big bear men, so I have no idea.
That's another. Yeah, I heard.
They're big bipedal bear creatures. I don't fucking know. What? How did we? Where are we?
Tangents. There's just this is the part that it's in the podcast description.
Oh, all right.
I mean,
Irish.
way.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome.
Oh God, Irish. Oh, whoops. Sorry.
Oh well, yeah, because the Bolga. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Anyway,
All right, but if you give a furbolg the guy bolg, there's a whole lot of bolgin right there.
There's a lot of bolgin.
Has a lot of bolgs.
Ew, I don't like that word, bolgin.
Bolgin.
This is that midnight level stupid.
Yeah, it is, boy.
Smooth and then.
Anyone have any final parting comments about XP reward systems?
No, but I never said what it hits the serotonin button for me quickly.
Yeah.
For me, it's the character gimmick. It's like whatever cool idea that I thought was cool anyway, that I built the character around. What always makes me get really hype is thinking about how many different ways I can do it. So like for that summoner wizard, I built like that whole magic system that I called Idolomancy off of it. At some point, I want to play like a swordmaster fighter that uses like old techniques from like old samurai film. Like if anyone's ever watched like Lone Wolf and Cub, Ogami Ito has like the wave slicer, stuff like that, and like implement that idea into like some sort of swordmaster. I sound like such a fucking weeb.
I wasn't gonna say it, but you know.
But like on the other way around, like I've also had the idea of like a Zoro-esque style duelist that does I should say like Wesley from Princess Bride in comparison to the Inigo Montoya, to be like, you know, you've used Benetti's defense against me, I will retort with Capofero, stuff like that. Like I love those ideas. For Django, it was the different ways that Django's spells would work based on like his
based on him being
like,
a robot man.
Yeah. I thought I put so much time and effort into thinking about like how each thing would work. So
yeah, that makes sense. I get that one. There's definitely a little bit of that for me, I think, too. But yes. Final. Any parting thoughts on the topic that we started up?
Experience bad. Games bad. Don't play games.
Right.
Go
Sam
outside,
says
touch
don't play
grass.
Game sucks, life sucks.
Read a book.
No, touch grass. No reading. Only touching grass.
Oh, only touching grass? Oh, all right.
Only
Lick
the grass.
Some incendiary statements.
I didn't say
You're gonna have
lick.
to
I
say
said
touching
just-
grass. I don't know about that.
I didn't say lick. I said touch. What kind of pervert are you?
All right.
I mean, if you think about it, you know, taste is a form of touching. No? Okay.
I don't know where this is going, but
Did you know that you literally can't touch something because there's always going to be space between the particles that make up you and the object?
Sam,
that you're
can we
attempting
not
to touch?
right now?
My mind shattered.
Can we not right now? I just wanted to talk about expedily points. What's happening? Where are you? We've gone down a dark place.
That's what happens.
We're on the planet called Earth, hurtling through space. So, yeah. You want me to get more specific or less specific?
No.
That's a separate episode.
I don't think that's an episode.
Lord.
I think that's just me being annoying.
That's just Sam. Sam having a moment. Anyway, other than games bad, I don't know. I had a thought. Sam actually broke my thought with the weird hurtling through space and you never touch things comments, and now I've lost my entire train of thought.
You're welcome.
I guess I have a last. I guess there are different ways. I guess trying to round out this whole thing. There are different ways to reward players for games. XP is one of them. If you're like that, I myself am a more Milestone player for DM and player, and I'm gonna just quote my buddy Evan over here, who also likes Milestone, and just give a few reasons. Like, it's less tracking, causes the players to think outside the box instead of just killing monsters, and it's way easier on the DM to maintain the flow of the game and the story and all that jazz. Only downside is that there's the tendency to players to ask for leveling up like every now and again. But again, communication is fucking key, people. Talk to your players, talk to your DM.
Or setting those milestones as very clear and obvious goals, like go collect 3 of the thingamajigs.
Yeah. Like in
also
Storm
have to
King's
say,
Thunder, it's like kill the giants. There you go.
People jokingly ask about if they leveled or not all the time. It's just a meme in these games. Not really.
I would like to say I am both memeing but also being serious when I do it. So like, you know, because I know I am one of those people who don't.
Yes, you are.
I know. Every time.
And there are times where
it's a meme, but it's also not a meme.
because especially in Avernus, after session you would ask him, but like, when have I ever given you the level after session? I would also tell you guys a lot. Hey, you guys are really close to leveling, so think about what you want from your level, because it's probably going to happen either next session or the session afterwards.
Yes, I do remember that, which did help with the annoyance of it. Like it did alleviate some of that, because again, like I said, there were some points in Avernus where I was like, why wasn't that a level up? What the fuck?
No, because a lot of the time those specific sections were optional, and that's why it wasn't a level
right,
up.
which is not 100%
which
clear
isn't 100%
all the time.
clear
So it's
until
like,
you're about a third of the way through.
Yeah.
Like that's my thing. Or like, oh god, there were some odd leveled up points too, because it was like, I know this is like completely off topic now, but like you'd go from Baldur's Gate to the keep, and you would get a level up as soon as you got there.
Oh,
it was why did we get why did we get a level for this? It doesn't really make sense.
No.
It kind of we literally traveled. We may have had 1 or 2 encounters. What?
That is an example right there. You get to Candlekeep, you get a level up. That is the fucking worst example of how to do the milestone situation.
Yeah.
That right there is the that annoys the shit out of me, because there's nothing else I could do. There's no way to deviate. There was nothing interesting going on. It was just follow my breadcrumb trail to the next town to get your free fucking toy. That's
kind of a problem with Avernus as well, because like honestly, you should have been a Candlekeep to begin with. The Baldur's Gate
that's a whole other discussion.
That's a whole other discussion. That kind of
that's
the whole level 1 to level 4 section
Sam.
is
Like that specific point was like, why?
But like, and then there's the next level, which is leave the city of Elturel, actually descend into Avernus, and you get a level up. That makes sense to me, because
that one makes a bit more sense. It's still a little
because you went through you went through trials and tribulations to get to this point, and true. Like you have a clear objective, and it makes sense that like you get that moment of rest, and then you get stronger because you're finally at a point. Yeah, there are some odd things in there, and then for some reason they wanted to have 2 different paths you could take for Avernus. That's like, so if you do this first, you get a level, or you should be this level by the time you reach here.
Oh my god, I hated that so much.
The 2 different paths.
Yeah,
it felt weird.
It did. It felt weird, and it was annoying because a lot of the shit that I had like heard about was on the other path. That I wanted to go. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, but isn't like more of Maggie's quest line along the demon path?
He doesn't even really have a quest line.
Oh.
No, she doesn't really have a quest line. It's just the different locations.
Maggie was like the biggest reason why I wanted to play that game. Meeting Maggie was like fucking a highlight of that campaign.
That was like session 5.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, what?
I was gonna say it was made better by Sam being like, and then pyrotechnics go.
Yes, the clownery. Yeah. I guess the takeaway, takeaway for me, I suppose is the right word, is don't. I guess we're doing this now. I guess we're trying to stick advice on the end of these now, because I feel like we like every episode. So I'm just gonna do this.
Why not? Yeah.
The advice here being for me, I think, is don't jump straight to the milestone. It's not necessarily always the answer. There might be something else that you might like better or might work better. And also look at how other games do XP systems. Take their ideas, especially if you really don't like the XP. If you like everything else about a game and don't like the XP system, then tailor it more towards the thing that you want. And make sure also look at games that reward you for the thing that the game claims to be about. Remember, if you're playing the Payday tabletop RPG, which doesn't exist, but if it did, you don't get rewarded for having coffee with the cops. You get rewarded for robbing banks, right? That's like one of the first things I look for. How am I rewarded in this game? And ergo, what is it about? Yeah. But steal, as we've said many times, steal from other games, steal from other sources. Because that whole XP system that I came up with for 5e, which tailored more to what I wanted, I basically just stole concepts from like 2 or 3 other games and sort of meshed them a bit into D&D. Bada bingus. Shazanga banga. Yeah. I had another thought there, but it left me as I was talking. So this is where we are.
Smoothie.
I am a smoothie. Again, cherry? Watermelon?
This episode's going to be titled XP Smoothie.
XP?
Yeah.
Smoothie.
Sorry, Brett, for whatever title you had in
I'm
mind.
not sorry.
Like I had a choice.
I regret nothing.
No, the episode should be called "What You Got There, XP."
What you got there? XP.
Hey, Josh, there's your thumbnail.
There you go.
All right. Alrighty. Was it like and subscribe on the YouTubes, follow on the Tweeters, and follow or upvote or whatever it is on the podcast platform you are listening to.
Yeah.
Bada bing bang boom. Bye-bye.
Time for the jingle.
No.